Talk to me about some things that you don't think first-timers really understand as they get into this. All right, so guys, we are still in Orlando, Florida at the Jake and Gino Multifamily Mastery, day 1 of 2, meeting lots of cool people, and now we're sitting with Julianne Peterson. She spells her last name wrong, but we're not going to hold that against her, right? I'm S-E-N, she's S-O-N.
Son of Peter. I don't know who son of Peter is. I don't know what that is.
Exactly. So Julie, talk to us about, we met today face-to-face for the very first time. What are you up to? What do you do in multifamily?
So I am a multifamily lender. I'm a broker, so we can get all kinds of loans for our multifamily operators. So whether it's bank, bridge, agency, which is your Fannie and Freddie, CMBS, and we look at all different ways that our clients can make the best choice for their business plan.
Gotcha. Okay.
Not all bank loans are the same, are made the same, right?
Here.
Yeah.
So I was so glad to meet you in person because I've seen you a lot on LinkedIn. You're kind of prodigious on LinkedIn.
I like that word. That's a big word.
Well, that's who you are. I'm a college dropout, but I know a few big words. I get lucky every once in a while. But I've used your company, never you directly, but I've used your company on 3 loans. Old Capital helped me get my very first loan with no job, no experience.
No kidding.
And you guys were connected enough in the industry that you found a 1-location bank in Burr Ridge, Illinois.
I used to live out there.
Bank Financial that did my first deal. So, I've got a lot of history with your group.
Thank you, yeah.
So how's the conference been for you? What do you get out of conferences like this?
Relationships. This is all about relationships, this business, right? And, again, it's not about getting the best price, because at the end of the day, it's about that relationship that you can count on. You're building your team with the right relationships and being able to execute on that. For us, it's debt, right? So we are your biggest partner. And if you don't have confidence in your biggest partner, you have the option of, well, what is your option really? So I really like to build relationships, long-term, strong relationships, so that it takes away this idea of it's all about the price.
Right.
Because it really isn't all about the price.
I agree, because I've had a few times people say, oh, I can do this, and they couldn't do what they said they can do.
Yeah.
And I've never had that experience with you guys. So do me a favor, because a lot of the people that are going to watch this, they're just starting out. They're trying to figure out how to do this. Where do I go first? How do I qualify for a loan? Talk to me about some things that you don't think first-timers really understand as they get into this.
Yeah. There's a couple things, but one of them is I can use everybody else's money except for my own. And that sounds great, and you hear that a lot from a lot of different mentor programs. But when we as lenders need to kind of put who's doing what, who's bringing what into the transaction, you have to have capital. I always say, if you're going after bringing other people's capital in, you better have some of your own money in, because what kind of investors going to have confidence in it if you're not putting your own money into the deal? So I would say really building that team, really understanding what the debt side of getting these deals done. We can all underwrite. You can all say, oh, it's 3%, but if you don't really understand how the debt piece affects the transaction, and how long we need and how much, net worth, liquidity, experience. Experience is a big one right now. There's been so many new people coming into this space with COVID. Hey, everybody's sitting around thinking, oh, I'm going to get rich quick. And the fact that, everybody is learning and trying to jump from deal to deal to deal, again, putting your partnership together is so critical, because again, your investors, if they see you jumping and then they're in that deal and then you jump to another team, they really don't have confidence. So building that team with your investors, with your partnerships, with your lenders is real critical to new people.
I love that.
Yeah.
And we were talking to some people earlier today about the very thing you touched on first, that no money, no credit. Oh, come on, guys. That doesn't practically work. We broke down in an earlier video that, look, you're going to have to front the earnest money, the application fee, the due diligence. There's so much that as a responsible deal sponsor, you have to come to the table with, and people just don't get, because they're hearing from a lot of gurus that, oh, no money down, you can raise money from all the other people. I'm so glad you said what you said there.
Well, and I do want to say one other thing that we're starting to see, and it's where sponsors are jumping from one deal to the next. Hey, I'll pay you $40,000. Hey, I'll pay you $50,000 and you go away. And some sponsors are jumping into this as an opportunity, but at the end of the day, that sponsor is responsible for that property.
Right.
From Fannie and Freddie.
Oh, yeah.
And if you do not hold up your end of the bargain, which is running this properly, doing the right repairs that you were told to,
right,
we're seeing people get on a checklist.
Oh, yeah.
And a checklist is like sending these sponsors, a lot of them left their W-2 jobs. And you might as well just go back to your W-2 job, because it is critical that Fannie is seeing that you're taking care of these assets.
Yeah. So one thing to understand, guys, the A check, we can get really deep in that, but basically it's a bad boy list that you don't know you've been put on until you find out you've been put on it when you try to go get another loan, a supplemental loan, a cash out refi, and they go, oh no, you're on the A check. It's like, what? So be careful, listen to what she's saying, but I want to talk about one final thing here. I'm very mindful of your time. A lot of people, I always use a mortgage broker. I've never gone direct ever in my life. And I always tell new people, don't just do it on your first or second. I've done many, many, many deals. I will always use a broker. Bruce, but first of all, why? But then secondly, well, but then they have their origination fee, the bank. Can you talk to people about why it's not any more expensive or very, very little more expensive to use somebody like you?
Yeah. It's a great question I get asked frequently. And, it's like going into the Nike store. All you can buy is Nike. And maybe you want a Nike shoe and you want a New Balance and you want to have all these different products that you can take a look at. If you go to a bank, you have that bank, and that bank may only have one product. And when you're underwriting it, maybe that is the best product, but you get through underwriting and you figure out, oh, this is not going to work. So if you go to direct and that bank or agency can't work with you, then you have to go find another broker or another lender, and you're losing time. So I like to call it, I open up my big coat and I can give you all different ideas and what is the best solution. Not only are we a relationship lender, but we also have a consultative kind of approach so that we really can talk you through, okay, what is your business plan? What would be best for your returns, for your investors? And, it is really important that, again, going back to the relationship, that you can trust. Old Capital is different in that we give you the bad news first, and we'll produce something better, but I really want you to know the bad stuff first. If we think we can only get you 70, I'd much rather tell you I can get 70 and then maybe return 75 when we close, right? As opposed to the other way, which is I can do 75 and 3 days before close, you now have, you got to go capital raise. And then, your investors are going to be a little bit upset about that, right? Because the return is not as good for them.
Right.
So I would tell you again, and Old Capital is different. I'm a little different than the rest of my Old Capital colleagues in that I bring a lot to the transaction. I work with a lot of young investors that don't have sponsors, that don't have an attorney or an insurance broker. So I put my whole team, and basically you can call Julie at Old Capital, and I can help you get that sponsor, that person that's going to bring your net worth, your liquidity, and most importantly, the experience. Because you know what? When you're new, you need someone to hold your hand, right? You're putting a lot of people's money at risk.
Right. And so what I tell people, because I teach and I mentor people all the time, and what I try to tell them is that, look, when you go direct, fine, it might work out. But when you're going to a mortgage broker, first of all, they have a Rolodex that instead of you just sitting in front of one banker, they know hundreds of people. But then the biggest part is you are my advocate. You will never do anything dishonest. You will never lie on my behalf.
Yeah.
But you know how to package me in the best possible truthful light in order to get that loan. So that in itself is that's again why I always use mortgage brokers, and I always will. It might cost me a little bit more money because I may have to pay an origination fee to the bank and to the broker. Very often though, they split the exact same origination fee, so it doesn't cost me any more to tap into somebody as brilliant. I want professionals in my corner.
Yes.
I'm not the best at everything. I want to bring somebody in that's the best at what they do. So Julie, thank you so much for taking some time with us. I really appreciate you being here. So good to meet you in person.
Yeah.
And guys, I hope this helped. This shed a little bit more light on lending for you.
Thank you.